How's it going, guys? I'm back. We're continuing the summer movie season, especially when it comes to superhero movies. I'm here today to talk about Deadpool 2. Now, the original Deadpool is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, top 5, mostly because it was such a difference. It was so different than other superhero movies. It subverted its genre, and it was just a to the point origin story. It was a pretty simple, to the point revenge tale about a guy who just can't stop talking and has a pendant for crude jokes and violence. And it took advantage of that, and it took advantage of its R rating, and it showed us that if you just do justice to a character in all his R-rated glory, no matter what the rating is, people are going to see it. So I was definitely looking forward to when a sequel was announced at the end of the first movie, in fact. At the end post-credit scene of Deadpool 1, they said they were making a sequel, and here it is. So let's jump right in. Deadpool 2 stars Ryan Reynolds, Josh Brolin, and Zazie Beetz, and it basically picks up around the time the last movie left off, where we see Deadpool has expanded his game as a mercenary, so to speak. He's taken to the international market, performing his assassinations and such, but suddenly, when a mutant kid comes on the scene, Cable, played by Josh Brolin, is a time-traveling assassin sent to kill him. So basically, we have a Terminator 2 on our hands, and they point that out pretty funny, but that's essentially the plot. So Deadpool decides to protect this kid in an effort to better himself. Starting off, what's awesome about Deadpool 2 is it's more of the same that worked in the first movie. Deadpool is back in his crude, fourth wall breaking ways, and he has plenty of quips to spare in this movie. Most of the things, basically everything you liked about Deadpool 1 is recreated pretty well. To a lesser degree, but it's still present in this movie. Ryan Reynolds is awesome as this character. He was born to play this character, and it was cool seeing all the characters, all the supporting and side characters from the first movie come back. T.J. Miller is hilarious as the best friend. Cable's back. Megasonic Teenage Warhead is really great. I'll touch on the new characters a little bit later, but as a whole, this movie brings back the goods that you love. The R-rated violence, the humor, the wit. All of it's back. The fourth wall breaking, it's all back, and it's all in its full R-rated glory. And it's pretty entertaining. They do it. I was worried with it having a new director. I was very worried that they weren't able to capture the style and the feel of the first movie, but they do a pretty good job recreating. It feels like a good sequel. And that's the second thing I love about Deadpool 2. It feels like a good sequel. Humor-wise, there are so many callbacks, and there are so many references to the first movie where they use a lot of the jokes in the first movie, but they put clever spins on the jokes from the first movie to make it all the more funny. So not only do you feel rewarded for remembering the hilarity of the first movie, but they put new twists on the jokes from the first movie a lot of times, and it just makes it funny. You're like, okay, this feels like a sequel. Maybe not that I've been waiting for it anxiously, but this doesn't feel like a cash grab. I feel like I'm invested in this. I'm glad they made a sequel. It feels like a great sequel on the humor-wise with the comeback. And like any great sequel, what I look for in a sequel is how do you up the ante? How do you up the stakes? Where you bring the characters? And I'm glad to say this movie does that. There are definitely more emotional stakes and just overall stakes, because Deadpool 1 was just his solo quest for revenge, as I've said. And this movie brings the Deadpool character in a lot of new directions. He had a lot of untreaded waters with Deadpool's character. He's doing a lot of soul searching in this movie that I wasn't really expecting. Another thing about this movie, it definitely has more drama and heart than the original. I really like the new directions they took Wade as a character, because if you're making a sequel and you catch lightning in a bottle once, it's really hard to say, okay, where do we bring a crude character like Deadpool? How can we make him grow? And I feel like this movie really does that. It has a lot more drama, and you get to know the heart of Wade Wilson. This movie cuts to the heart of Wade Wilson a lot better. Deadpool is more of a tragic character that uses jokes as a facade, and I feel like this movie does a lot better job at showing just who he is apart from the humor, apart from the fourth wall breaks. I feel like this movie cuts to the heart of Deadpool a little better than the first one, so that's one thing it definitely does better than the first one. I also love the new characters. Josh Brolin is awesome as Thanos. He is just on I just said Josh Brolin as Thanos. Case in point, Josh Brolin's on a roll this year. He was awesome as Thanos, and he is back in this movie. He is very good as Cable. He brings a very stern side that works very well chemistry-wise with Ryan Reynolds' jokey Deadpool. I love their chemistry together. He has a lot. They do give him some character development, and he is also very funny as well. Josh Brolin, awesome job as Cable. I also love Zazie Beetz as Domino. I've been watching Atlanta lately, and she's really good in that show, and I'm glad she's getting more work with this movie. She's very great. Domino is a really cool character. She brings a lot of very nice personality to the group. She has a good interplay with Wade, and yeah, just like I said, very nice personality. Great job, Zazie Beetz as Domino. So yeah, this movie has more heart. It has more drama. Its new characters were awesome. I love the team play dynamic. As you see in the trailer, Wade forms a group called the X-Force, and they have a lot of fun times with that. I love seeing Wade operate in a team sense, because the first movie was just his solo quest for revenge. So yeah, this movie does a lot of jobs, but unfortunately, it very much suffers from a lot of sequel-itis. First of all, a lot of the jokes in this movie are just stale and didn't land for me. It really felt like they had a rushed script, and it makes sense. I was listening to interviews on the movie, and Ryan Reynolds said they only had about 8 or so months to perfect and finish the script for this movie, whereas for the original Deadpool, they had years, because it was just a pipe dream. There was no way they thought it was going to happen. And you can kind of tell, a lot of the jokes just didn't land for me, and I think that's because they weren't spaced well, especially the fourth wall breaks. The fourth wall breaks are not done as well in this movie. Although there are some hilarious references to other DC Marvel properties, etc., they're not spaced very well. So in certain scenes, when Wade addresses that he's in the movie and he talks to the camera, it's funny the first time, and then they do the same thing a minute or seconds later in the same scene. It feels like they're just throwing everything they have at you comedic wise, and when it's not all landing, it just leaves the audience in a very awkward position. I remember watching the first Deadpool in the theater, and I was laughing at literally every scene, and the audience was just erupting at like every other joke. This movie, the audience, and me included, just kind of quiet in a lot of scenes when they were going for humor, and it just didn't sit as well. I don't think the writing and the humor was as sharp in Deadpool 2 as the original. Also, the first act is very sloppy to me. It suffers from a lot of conflicting tones, and you're left in the first act wondering, okay, I see how we got here, but where's this movie going? The questions that popped into my head during the first act of this movie is, where is it going? I was questioning during the first act if we even needed a sequel to Deadpool. That's how sloppy it was, be it the pacing, be it the conflicting tones, which this movie definitely suffers from. While I would applaud this movie for going for more heart and going for more drama, Deadpool is an overly comedic character, so there are a lot of moments where his humor clashes with the drama that they're going for the screen, and it leaves you at a very awkward place, because you're like, am I supposed to feel something for this dramatic moment they're going for, or am I supposed to keep laughing because, yes, Wade is a very funny character? It just leaves you kind of in an awkward place. The conflicting tones, the first act is very sloppy, and a lot of the jokes don't land. And also, there's this kid in the movie. So the movie the plot revolves around this kid who's a mutant, and Wade kind of wants to put him on a better path. I'm being as vague as possible here. Wade wants to put him on a better path, and he tries to develop a friendship with him, but I'm going to be honest, I did not feel anything for this kid. I don't know whether it was the writing for him or just the actor. He's a young kid, he's like 12, 13 years old, and he tries to be like extra gangster, so he makes like a lot of rap jokes and gangster references, and it was just like very odd. You're like, where are they going with this kid? I don't really care for him, he's not that funny, and I just didn't get it. The kid was kind of annoying, and that's that. When you have a movie focus on a kid, you at least want to get a strong childhood acting performance out of him, but the kid was just kind of annoying to me. So yeah, between the sloppy writing, a lot of the jokes not landing, a lot of non-spaced fourth wall breaks, and they're just throwing everything at you, and the conflicting tones, there's a lot in this movie where you're just like, wow, well, that wasn't nearly as good as the first one, but I still had a good time. It's very hard to catch lightning in a bottle. The first Deadpool was such a pleasant surprise. And yes, it is so much, it can't hold a candle to its predecessor. However, there's still a lot of fun to be had with Deadpool 2. I was worried with the new director it wouldn't feel the same, but the storytelling structure and Deadpool narrating, especially towards the beginning of what kind of movie it's gonna be, it does feel like a good sequel to Deadpool. I'm glad this movie got made. It's not nearly as good as the first one, but it's still a good time in itself. I am Pac. Thanks so much for hearing my perspective. If you liked this review, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Give me feedback. I appreciate all sorts of feedback. Thank you so much for hearing my review, and I'm out for now. I'm going to give overall, I almost forgot a rating, holy crap. I'm going to give Deadpool 3.5 out of 5 stars overall. I really enjoyed it, but it definitely suffers from sequelitis, as I said. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm out for now.